But let's start off with our big sports betting story of the day. And we had heard this story building over the last month or so, comes to fruition this morning. FanDuel has effectively decided to stop accepting credit cards. For those of you who are running up credit cards and betting on sports, your game is game over. They will no longer be accepting credit card deposits as of March 2nd, 2026. Yes, that's this year. That's next month. Previously prohibited credit card deposits have already existed in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Illinois, Tennessee, and Vermont. So now add another state, of course, to this. It's at the point now where, folks, if you're going to bet on sports and bet responsibly, you're going to have to use something other than a credit card. The Big Ten has sent a letter regarding prop betting. Student athletes, of course, under a lot of fire here, generally speaking, getting harassed when their props go under. The league's formal athlete leadership body released a statement on Tuesday addressed to NCAA President Charlie Baker, urging the college sports body to restrict or eliminate player-specific prop wagers on collegiate athletes. The Big Ten, not just the only conference that wants to get involved in this, but if they eliminate props, they feel like it will eliminate some of the threats that the kids have been posed with over the last few years. In college basketball last night, number 13 Purdue barely escapes a win against number 7 Nebraska. Nebraska 2.5-point favorites. They end up winning by 3. Purdue led by 22 points, but still won the game. Nebraska lost for the third time in 4 games following a 20-0 start to the game, but Matt Painter certainly explained how well things went late to get the win.
Yeah, I thought our effort was great. I thought we did a pretty good job executing. We had a lot of really good looks that didn't go down, especially in that second half. But our guys kept playing hard, and they got it going. And, Rink Mask going out of the game, we obviously benefited from that with the way they stretch us out. And he's obviously a great player. Just look at his stat line. But, yeah, our guys played hard. They hung in there. They kept getting rebounds. And, Trey and Oscar had more rebounds than them in the first half. And, they end up with 33 rebounds, and Nebraska has 37. When you have that many more possessions than somebody else, the odds are it's going to help you. And we about got beat because we can't make a free throw. But, I thought the decisions and the effort was great.
Arkansas, meanwhile, destroys LSU 91-62. They were 4.5-point favorites, but the 21st ranked Arkansas Razorbacks are winning and moving on. They had lost their previous 3 visits to LSU, and despite the win, John Calipari, head coach of Arkansas, said he still can't take LSU lightly.
LSU's last 2 games, I watched their win at South Carolina and how they played and how physical and how they guarded. I watched their Georgia game where they were up 15 and had a chance to win the game here, the last 2 games. We played really good today. We really played good. We've had other games where we've really played bad. It just wasn't this game. So this is more about us than it was about LSU. Yes.
TCU and Iowa State playing toe-to-toe till the final couple of minutes of the game. Then the Horned Frogs went off to win 62-55. Tanner Toolson of TCU had 17 points and 19 rebounds. Jamie Dixon very happy to get that big win late.
Schemes defensively, simply put, I said they've just been better than us over the year. But doesn't mean they're going to be better today. And so that was the message across. So today is what mattered. And, defensively, we forced the 17 turnovers, and that was the difference, and out-rebounded them. So neither team shot it well, I would say, both teams. But, I obviously have great respect. TJ I've known for 100 years, and we go way back. And, it is interesting that we're playing defensively similar, but they've just been better over the course of the year. But we got to keep getting better going forward here. So proud of our guys. Obviously, we needed it, and we know we're on the bubble, and beating fourth-ranked team is a good way to get off the bubble.
Meanwhile, after a stellar performance in the college football playoff, could we see the Miami Hurricanes headed to the NCAA tournament? Last night, a resume builder, they upset North Carolina 75-66. We'll see if this propels Miami into the big dance, of course, with the conference tournaments coming up as well next month. All right, announcement officially from the NBA before we go forward with some of the results. Isaiah Stewart has been suspended for 7 games due to the fight with the Pistons and Hornets a couple of days ago. Miles Bridges, 4 games. Musa Diabate, 4 games. Jalen Duren got 2 games. Those are the suspensions, all 6-figure fines for all players involved. Meanwhile, in the NBA last night, Victor Wembanyama had 40 points. The Spurs beat the struggling Lakers 136-108. They were 13.5-point favorites. The reason why? Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves did not play in this game, but they'll still take it behind 40 from Wemby. Here's Mitch Johnson after the game.
Every game is hard because you're constantly trying to fight for perfection, and we're never going to have it. So everything that we do, when you have 3 great possessions and the 4th one feels like you let your guard down, or you didn't hold yourself to the same standard, or you weren't as disciplined as you were in the 3 previous ones, it can be frustrating, or that's the battle that you fight. So there's no way around this grind, unfortunately. It's a never-ending current that just flows. And I think it's more about keeping things in perspective and compartmentalizing at times when you can, but there's really no out for the grind.
Kevin Durant, with a historical game last night, became the 20th player, actually 4th player in NBA history to have his 20 points in 1,000 career games. It's incredible. LeBron James, Karl Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar were the other 3. And the Rockets beat the Clippers 102-95. They were 9.5-point favorites. 26 is the amount of points that Durant had in that game last night. Here's Ime Udoka on picking up this win.
Made 23 pointers in that last game against you guys. How big was it to limit them in that area tonight?
Yeah, it was big. It was, I think our rotations were on point behind it, going after Leonard quite a bit, and we were, energized, scrambling, and opposite from the game there, where we didn't get to rotations, didn't find them in transition. Even, guys had way more attempts than tonight, and Leonard gets 7 up, but all very highly contested other than the 1 or 2 that he did make. Focal point there, to make others beat us, and, only one guy scored in double figures. So, like I said, our rotations were much better.
Biggest upset of the week in the NBA. I think that's going to hold. The Pacers somehow beat the Knicks last night, 137-104. The Knicks were 12-point favorites. Pascal Siakam had 30 in the game. The Suns beat the Mavericks 120-111. Dylan Brooks had 23 points, and Dallas now has lost 8 straight games. It's their longest losing streak, by the way, since 2016. Over to Major League Baseball. You're seeing a lot of posts this morning. Pitchers and catchers back on the field for spring training, Florida and Arizona. That's the good news. The bad news is nobody can stay healthy. What is going on with all these injuries? We haven't even started spring training games yet. Francisco Lindor has a stress reaction in his hamate bone and may have to have surgery. Corbin Carroll, same deal, hamate bone as well. And even Jackson Holliday, the Baltimore Orioles, 3 different players with broken hamate bones going into spring training. Never seen that before. Also, Anthony Santander is going to miss 5 to 6 months after shoulder surgery. Josh Hader reported to the Houston Astros saying that he's only throwing on flat ground for now. Bizarre stuff with injuries, as we don't even have any games to talk about yet, and the batters haven't even reported to spring training yet. Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Sam McQuillan is with us from Legal Sports Report to go over the very latest in the landscape of sports betting. We do that every single day here on NewsWire, and you can read his columns over at legalsportsreport.com. All right, Sam, let's get started here. And sports betting numbers are starting to come in from the Super Bowl. And it was it seems like a pretty actively watched Super Bowl, as we're seeing some of the numbers there. But how about from a betting perspective? Were more people betting this year than in years past, generally speaking? As we talked about last year, I always say every year it breaks a record. Seems like maybe that didn't happen this year.
Yeah, we're still waiting on betting results. We probably won't get all the state reports, all the sportsbook reports for about another week, maybe another month. We'll have sort of all of what we were looking for. So far, it looks on the surface like the public had a really good day. They were obviously all over the Seahawks at -4.5. Seahawks money line cashed. They did lose on the total as the game went under. A lot of bets were on the over. So on the surface, it kind of looks like the public had a good day. But when you dig deeper than that, we projected about 25% of handle was tied up in parlays. And when you look at those parlays and what were the popular bets, it looks like it actually was a pretty good day for the sports books. At the score, 6 of the most popular same game parlay legs, only one of those hit, which was Seattle money line, and obviously not a lot of odds boosting on that. They really benefited from Kenneth Walker not scoring, from Jackson Smith and Jigba not scoring, Stephon Diggs and Drake May. They all didn't find the end zone. There's only 4 touchdowns in the game itself. I actually talked with somebody at BetMGM who said the fact that there was only 4 touchdowns and that it came from who it came from was actually really beneficial to the book's bottom line, which is kind of a similar story you saw last year where, I think everybody was on the Eagles, certainly in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. Everyone thought the books got crushed, but turns out they had a great day. Now, when it comes to actual how much people are betting, we only have one state that's reported so far, and it's a really special state. It's Nevada, which obviously has been the capital of sports betting forever. Nevada sportsbooks took $133 million on the game, which is the lowest they've ever taken in the legal sports betting era. So it was not a record in Nevada, but in the past, we've had nationwide records every year while Nevada has gone, up or down. It's actually a very interesting case. It's not quite representative of the entire country because Nevada has Las Vegas, right, where most of the sports betting is still done in person. There's actually a mobile registration requirement, which makes it a lot more difficult for the online sports books to really do a lot of business in the state. That's kind of by design. They want people to go to the casinos still. So it's unlike a lot of other markets. And tourism was actually down about 8% last year in Las Vegas. So it could be a situation where you just had less people in Vegas betting on the game. Certainly more people are going online. Sports books in Nevada held about 7.5%, which is kind of on average with what, sports books usually hold on any sport. But when you look at last year, they held 14.6%, which is about double. It was their best day ever in terms of a profitability standpoint. So not quite the same here in Nevada. We'll know more when other states report. I certainly expect it to break records elsewhere across the country. But so far, Nevada kind of showing not quite the case. And of course, we'll have the earnings reports in about a month where operators will talk a little bit more about how exactly they did on the day. But so far, it looks like they survived losing to the public on the big headline bets and benefiting from, few touchdown scores and a lot of same game parlay legs not hitting.
Makes sense. All right. So with the federal indictments coming down pretty heavy on some of the college basketball props earlier this year, with some players allegedly getting involved in point shaving and prop shaving and things of that nature, shouldn't come as a surprise that the Big Ten would like to just see this put to rest, meaning no more prop bets at all. I don't know that, Sam, that they'll able to accomplish this, but maybe some minimum and maximum bets, again, do make some sense. Unders in particular. I don't know what kind of changes we're headed for, but it does seem like something is in the works.
Yeah, Craig, I would honestly introduce these folks to you because it seems like you have a good nuanced idea of how we deal with these sorts of things, these kind of bets that have become problematic, as opposed to just outright banning them. I think there's a lot of kind of conjecture about, if you ban them, they'll all go offshore, or, if you keep them unbanned, people are just going to be betting on them more. It's going to be more socially acceptable. That's certainly what the Big Ten Conference Student Athlete Issues Commission said in their letter this week to the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, urging him to restrict or eliminate player prop wagers on college athletes. Now, they stopped short of making an actual recommendation of what exactly to do. They kind of just said, these are problematic betting types, which they certainly have been cited in, as you mentioned, multiple FBI indictments. I think the last one involved around 39 players at over a dozen different men's basketball programs, a lot of them not just point shaving, but player prop specific as well. So the students kind of adding their voice to the growing scrutiny around this. Now, Baker himself has actually been a proponent of eliminating college player props. He, last year asked every state to impose a nationwide ban. Not every state complied, but already a lot of states, don't allow wagers on college athletes in their states. Ohio, Vermont followed. So we've been moving in that direction for a while. It's a little bit different than the pros where these guys are making, they're still making money in college, but they're making a lot more in the pros. After the Jonte Porter scandal, FanDuel and other sports books moved to ban player props on basketball players who are on two-way contracts, making a lot less, thought to be more susceptible to, this kind of nefarious activity or prone to harassment. So they banned that. And then you had the Terry Rozier situation anyway, where talking about a guy who was making about $26 million a year. So there hasn't been a catch-all fix. We have seen sports books kind of react and change things. They definitely don't want props outright to be banned, because that's where they make a lot of their money. That's where a lot of same game parlays and parlay, betting activity is tied up into. So there's definitely a growing push. There's been talk about reform in Congress, where it comes from. I don't think anything will happen immediately, but I wouldn't be surprised to see everyone kind of leaning more in the direction of, like you mentioned, Craig, tailoring these props where you can only bet overs, getting rid of some big names there. But certainly big news that the Big Ten Student Athlete Commission is adding their voice to the growing concern. And, they sent the letter to Charlie Baker, who agrees with them,
Right.
but he also legalized sports betting in Massachusetts. So it's quite a messy situation with all this stuff. I'm sure it's not the last we've heard about scandals or indictments, and we'll keep following the news here.
Now, Mississippi has been in the forefront of sports betting since it first got legalized several years ago. And the one thing that they've been unable to accomplish, Sam, as we've talked about here many times on the show, is getting live online sports betting outside of the retail shops. So I guess it's my age-old question here, Sam. Is this ever going to happen? Because we do bring it up about once, I would say, every couple of months. It seems like there's progress toward it, and then I can't figure out the reason why there's so much pushback with this, because every other state around them is online.
Yeah, I'm really not sure if Mississippi will ever legalize online sports betting in the immediate future. I think someday it's going to be inevitable when we talk about all the other factors of why states might want to legalize sports betting more than ever now. But like you mentioned, Craig, they've had in-person sports betting since 2018. They're one of the first. A House bill was passed this week, which is actually a pretty big step. It's very rare that these bills actually pass out of a chamber in Mississippi. So that could be some progress there. But the big holdup has been this age-old debate about, in-person casinos. There's certainly a lot in Mississippi. Them being wary of losing, traffic to online sports books. Are people still going to come to the sports book to bet if they can just do it from the palm of their hand on their couch? We just talked about the Vegas numbers declining with tourism down. I'm not sure. There's been a lot of speculation or debate about whether or not cannibalization is real when you have online sports betting. But, the bottom line here has been the interests of the casinos and the casinos in the state are really felt by the lawmakers there, which is why they're wary or have been wary to pass online sports betting. This could be the year as it, finally passed the House. Last year, the bill only died in conference committee. So we'll see how it progresses moving forward. But Mississippi will be one of those few states we're watching this year in terms of could they legalize online sports betting.
I think it's those casinos on the river that are secretly pushing back on this stuff, trying to get people to go au revoir. And I'm not accusing them of doing it. It's just my opinion. I think that's in play, at least for me. All right, Sam, great stuff. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll check in again on Friday. Thanks again.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Craig.